Today, you've learned from lots of people what is the lexical approach. I'll put it in a nutshell now, how those two work together. So lexical approach is basically how language works, how to facilitate students with language so that they start using it from lesson 1. And retrieval approach, where lexical approach is how language works, retrieval approach is about how your memory works, which we very often, unfortunately, forget about. So this is what I want you, first of all, to show to you. What exactly is retrieval practice? What's the difference between repetition and revision? Because people very often confuse those terms. Retrieval is not repetition, it's not revision, although it does include those things. Repetition and revision very often are done in a way that students have got some of the language in front of them, or teacher writes it on the board, we talk about it, and we basically make ourselves like more familiar with the meaning and so on. Retrieval is where there is nothing in front of you, and we work on fishing it out of your memory without any help, because this is the final stage where you shift that new language to your active language set and start using it automatically without thinking, without translating, without analyzing the grammar and so on. There is a great short clip on YouTube. I invite everybody to watch it. If you just put on YouTube, how does your memory work? You will see a short clip. It's literally like 2-3 minutes. I show it to all of my students at the beginning of the courses because they are not aware of how their memory works. And in this short clip, there is one small section about retrieval where it's shown, you see, there is a bridge here, and this bridge basically represents a neural pathway. This thing here, the sticky figure going along the bridge, over the bridge, is a memory. And now, like a single memory, or let's say maybe a sentence or a phrase, some kind of a chunk that we try to remember. And at the beginning, the neural pathway looks like this. It's very weak, because we only we see it on the board, we try to say it, boom, the lesson finishes, somebody asks us an hour later, so what did you learn? And you're like, oh my God, I don't remember. Something like, okay, we don't remember that. Why? Because it's got to be retrieved many times. So instead of transmitting the language to students, which we are used to, we retrieve it more often than transmit. So after some time, you see this bridge gets very strong, and you see the memory is now wearing rollerblades. So this is how fast then those things come to use. You don't have to think about it. They become natural. They become your own words, your own phrases, chunks, and so on. So I encourage you to have a look at that clip. It really does explain briefly, all the mechanisms of the memory and how to make it more efficient. Now, I often show this image you're going to see in a minute of a teacher, because I think this is the kind of the teacher I became after implementing retrieval practice and lexical approach in my classes. And the image I'm going to show you shows how the teacher should look and feel before, during, and after classes. Okay, and it should be exactly like that. And it's unbelievable how it changes those two main things change the way you work, and they actually make you relaxed, and they shift most of the stuff to students, and the students become the doers, and we kind of monitor most of the time. Obviously, there are certain stages when we need to give a model, we need to talk to them, we need to explain. But this is all about we all just feel it after some time, how much of each we need to do. Okay, so the next thing, very important to remember, if you want to implement any of these things, first, very important thing, start learning a new language from scratch. It's virtually impossible to understand what we are talking about in this conference if you don't actually have at least 2 classes of a foreign language that you're not familiar with. If you do that and you learn a few phrases, just like Hugh said this morning, he had that adventure with Indonesian. I had the same with Italian. When you start using full sentences, and I'm saying not even only chunks like, you know, parts of a sentence, but actually full sentences, and they're about you, because that's also very important, that language has to be personalized. You shouldn't learn the language that is in phrase books, in course books. You should always personalize it, because this is the only way for you to remember it. And the second thing is observe other teachers at work. This is, I always say that I'm blessed with that possibility to observe so many teachers at work from lots of different countries, because I also work in the UK. During the summer, I run international summer schools. I've been doing it for 16 years now. And I've done hundreds of observations, and they all make my own teaching richer and richer and better and better. When you see things from the as a fly on the wall, in both ways, I mean, like, you know, when you're as well, you don't see them from the fly on the wall perspective when you are a student of a new language. Let's make that clear. You in this way and in this situation, you are rather experiencing the whole thing, and you see it from your students' point of view. But when you are observing a class, that's the unique opportunity to see how things work, because we don't see those things when we are teaching. A few things I want to mention today are these three. What's wrong with all those course books, Lexical Approach plus Retrieval, and how to become a door handle lesson planner. This is my the term I use to describe teachers who have mastered those Lexical Approach and Retrieval Practice tools to the stage where them, like, you press the door handle to the classroom, look at the book, and you know how you will be doing it, because you will be shifting most of the stuff to your students rather than giving them a lecture. What's wrong with those course books? That's a very crucial thing in retrieval, because course books, in most cases, they spoil the retrieval. They don't let it exist. I'm going to tell you why now. Usually in my training sessions, I give the teachers that short lesson in Italian and do it in both traditional way and then using Lexical Approach and Retrieval Practice. I'm not going to do it here. We don't have enough time for that. But if you have time, drop into my group, the Big R, take your teaching to the next level, and you will see what I mean. You will be able to experience that. So basically, I show people this 2 pages from a course book, Italian course book. Why Italian? Because if I do it to the English teachers and I show you an English course book, you will not get what I mean. Okay, basically, the students, this is elementary level. You see, you've got like days of the week here. On the left, some activities you do on those days, and then how we say it, for how the verb changes for different persons here. So when students, imagine you're a student and you've got this in front of you, where is the learning? That's the thing. You only, like, you know, you get it all transmitted to you, but there is very little learning in it. And what problems we have there? First of all, everything is in front of you. So how can you actually use your retrieval, fish things out from your memory, if you've got everything in front of you all the time? You've got, when the course books are open, the students are learning, in my opinion, in a very passive way. And I try to make it active as much as possible. Too much at a time, like I said, you see, you had those days of the week. Imagine they still struggle at those things. They still don't know the days of the week. So they have to try to use those and use the activities they do on those days and kind of, like, you know, merge it together. Having it all in front of them is just too much. One student will be able to join the dots and quickly make a sentence. A few other students will be puzzled and they won't say a word because they will be afraid. They just don't know what to say. No retrieval practice because, well, even if they manage to make those sentences, they are not retrieving them. They're just looking at the coursebook all the time, and they can just look at it, say it, match it, and done. They are not taking it out from the memory. And when the lesson is done, when it's finished, next day in the morning, if you give them a piece of paper and ask them to write what they remember, you will be surprised how little it is. And I experienced the same with my Italian. I was just shocked how little I remember trying to learn in a traditional way. And lack of personalized practice and natural language, that's what I mentioned before. This is the biggest problem with how the course books are used. So in my school, the teachers know that out of, 45 or 60 minutes lesson, the course books are open only for 15 minutes, not longer. Now, what happens if we use course book in this way? You show one thing at a time. So you've got everybody in the same place. The biggest problem with opening the course books, and you know that, your teachers, is early finishers, for example. So we open the course book, and I bet you've got students who are already trying to fill in some exercises that you've planned to do a bit later on. If you do it this way, you never have the problem with early finishers, because you're always with your class, with every single person, you're in the same place, at the same stage. And then when you finally ask them to do something in the books, they already know what they will be doing, and they open the books for the sake of doing that exercise and retrieving what we've just done. Lexical Approach plus M&M. M&M is modeling and monitoring. That's the basic tool that is very important here, where we give the model to the students, we use it for ourselves. We can do, I usually do quite a lot of talking there when I started. I explain that this is, you're going to hear something about me, and this is the sentence, what do you think it means? And then I explain it, and we talk about it. And then students use the same model to talk about themselves. And this model can be extracted from what you're going to do in the course book. Because if that model exists in the grammar section of the course book, or in your reading text, or whatever it is, in listening, you do it without the books, they already gain some confidence using it. And then when you open the course book to have a look at it, it's all much easier for them, and they understand it better. So this is what I mean by M&M. Retrieval at every stage. If you ever appear at any of my take part in any of my training sessions, you will see that I always underline and highlight the fact that it's possible to use retrieval all the time throughout your class, and it's worth experimenting and trying different ways of doing it, because it's a very simple, very powerful tool. And I just can't imagine my classes without it now. And the model language, which is a very, very important thing, and very often teachers forget about it. This is something that comes in use when, those moments when you start a class, you want to have a small chat, and you ask some simple questions to your students, and some of them are quite chatty, and they start talking, and it's difficult to stop them. And some of them find it difficult to say anything, because they're shy, because they don't really know how to put it all together. They're trying to translate things in their heads. Well, if you put a model language on the boards, like gapped sentences, unfinished sentences, and you ask the students the question, then it's much easier for them to everybody will speak at that moment. You will have even the weakest and the shyest students say a few sentences. The strongest students will naturally tell you more, but the weaker ones at least will say those few sentences. And then when you, obviously those sentences include the language you want to study in a lesson. And then when you erase it and see if they can produce it again, everybody has a chance to retrieve it. Next section is about how to become a game changer and a door handle lesson planner. I'm going to show you a few things that are very important to me in how I run the classes using Lexical Approach and Retrieval Practice. First of all, there is the oldest game in the world, I think, that teachers used to use a lot. I remember some training sessions and talking to teachers from International House, and this is the first tool I got to know about when I had my own English classes when I was a student at the International House, and I was amazed how simple it is. So B2B, back to the boards, is simply like, you know, after introducing the language and playing with it, trying to use it in context, then you quickly remove everything, close the books, and put a couple of students back to the board, put one of the chunks on the board, and the others have to explain to those students what it is, when you use it, what's the situation, and so on. And this is a perfect retrieval example, because those students are sitting there back, they can't see what's on the board, and by listening to other students, they have to retrieve it, they have to bring it back, and they realize how difficult it is. It's so obvious when we have the book open and everything is on the board. It's so simple, yet when you remove it all, suddenly everybody realizes, oh my God, where is it? I just remembered it, and I don't now. Okay, and the other thing is the art of game changing. This is what I call kind of using the well-known games we've all been using in language classrooms for years now for retrieval, and they are really powerful. And I remember the first time when I worked at a school with teachers from different countries, and I was going to have my C1 or C2 level class with a group, and then I was leaving the teacher's room, and I was carrying Twister, and somebody asked me, "Hey, are you sure you're taking this one to your C2 class?" And I said, "Yeah, obviously, we're going to use it." And everybody just laughed. But then somebody was curious and started asking me after the lesson, "So what did you do? Did you actually play Twister with them?" I said, "Well, I did and I didn't, because basically I put them into two teams and put them on both sides of the mat, and I grabbed the course book." This is very important. No preparation for this one. You just grab Twister and you can do a massive revision. So I take the course book and I tell them, "Listen, guys, I'm going to talk about some situations. I'm going to describe some things to you. And I want you to come up with a phrase, with a chunk of sentence you would say in that situation. The first person who says the correct one, you can nominate the person from the other team, twist it for him or her, and send him or her on the mat. And the first team that ends up on the mat basically loses the game." Marcin, how much time do we have? Because I'm not sure now what time we should finish.
It's idea to wrap it up.
Oh, okay, no problem. So basically, like I said, these are some basic things when it comes to using retrieval in practice. There's lots of those ideas, and I'm currently trying to put it all together in a book, since self-publishing has become kind of like simpler, easier for everybody. So I'd like to put it all together so that everybody has got that first aid kit, the book that gives you that special power of using retrieval and lexical approach, and lots of other things that I wanted to mention, but we don't have time for that. If you visit the group or you ask me questions, I'm going to show you how to contact me in a second. All the websites are my projects, are things that I do. Speakadelic.com, Speakadelic EduPal is my school. Good Morning Earth is the African project, and Retrieval.world, this is under construction. It's going to appear quite soon. And the email is info@retrieval.world. Thank you very much for your time. And like I said, please don't hesitate to contact me. Let me know if you have any questions about this.
Thank you very much, Marek. That's been great to have you here with us. Leo, would you like to say a few things about well, what you have seen today a bit, and if you've got any word for us for the end?
Well, I think Marek in his session just now said something also very nice, that lexical approach is the way how language works. So I guess that's all the more reason we should use this approach, because it's in tune with how language works. And that's probably what Hania talked about earlier when her manuscript was rejected originally, that kind of new view of language doesn't require any methodology. Well, I think on the contrary. So if we have now a better understanding of how language works, it should clearly kind of lead to some kind of revision of our methods and practical tools that we use in the classroom. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much.